from your grave.
Alright, today we're going to resurrect these books from the grave in everyone's least favorite book type of video, the book review. And go! First up is this 1959 Fawcett gold medal, so you know it's gold. The Monster from Earth's End, Murray Leinster. Okay, it's Murray. I know. Murray Leinster. Murray Leinster's real name was William F. Jenkins. He was an author of genre fiction, but known mostly for writing science fiction. So anywhere online this book is mentioned, it automatically gets compared to John W. Campbell's Who Goes There, which was the basis for the movie The Thing from Another World, and Horror Express. So we're just going to go ahead and get that out of the way. My 2 cents is that it's influenced by The Thing from Another World, the movie, The Thing from Another World. It's one of my favorite movies, and it's hard not to picture the actors from the movie while you're reading this book. So that might have some appeal to why I just love this book so much. Alright, so the basic premise, there is a small island located between Antarctica and Valparaiso, Chile, called Gow Island. Make-believe, doesn't exist. It's a refuel and supply station for crews that are working in Antarctica. On it, there is less than 20 people who live and work there. There's a plane coming from Antarctica with groundbreaking biological finds in it. There's trouble on the plane. Over the intercom, they hear bullets. The plane lands on its belly. They rush inside to see what happened, to help the survivors. None of the crew is on the plane except for the pilot, who is holding a gun and who blows his brains out right at the beginning. He lands the plane on its belly. He's alive, and then he blows his brains out. So brutal start to the monster from the thing. And what the fuck is this called? The Monster from Earth's End. Brutal start. Though the terror is science-based, this is 100% a horror book. I know it's always in the science fiction. In fact, I always see his books in the science fiction section, and I consider a lot of them horror books. Not only is there hundreds of miles of ocean between them and any kind of help, in the midst of hunting this monster, they accidentally burned down their radio cabin. So they have lost all contact with the outside world, and there's this invisible force. There's this mystery monster out in the dark that's taking people out one by one. Our hero is Drake. He's the administrator of the island, and he is responsible for everyone's life on that island. And he's going to tell you many, many, many times of his responsibilities on this island in this book. There's a silly side romance plot with him and his secretary, I guess, Nora. They got to keep things looking professional, so they can't let anyone know. So it's like this secret relationship. It was really corny because, I live in 2024, and I don't know. It just seems silly that it would be improper for these people to have a relationship, but I guess back in 1959, improper. The other characters, there's an unhinged boss wannabe named Spaulding, who's always second-guessing Drake and basically just stating that he's an idiot, and Spaulding knows all the real answers and what they need to do, and Drake's dropping the ball. And of course, Spaulding also likes Nora and is jealous. There's a nerve-wracked biologist, Beecham, who's just a nerdy science, kind of cliche kind of guy. There is a young, go-getter kind of guy who's on Drake's side, and he's got his back, and Drake always sends him out to do the tough work, and he's accountable. He's a good man. Then there's a few minor players like the mechanic, the cook, the radio operator, who is so sad that they burnt this cabin down. He kind of just sits around he's lost all purpose in life. All he had was that radio. You took it away. Dude is lost without it. So mostly the story revolves around Drake, Nora, Beecham, Spaulding, and the kid, I forget his name. So even though there's like 19, 20 people on the island, you really only have to keep track of the 5, which, makes the story a million times better because characters are hard to remember, and I don't know, it's just very simplified. The mystery of the monster is slowly unveiled as you get hints as to what the monstrosity could be. If you're paying attention and can hypothesize, you can probably figure out what's happening. There is clues, there's subtleties. So if you were like into mysteries, like a horror with a kind of mystery aspect, yes, people are bludgeoned to death, eaten alive, but you also get to solve like what this thing is. It's not just Jason coming at you, It's a lot of fun to try and figure out like the mystery along with Drake, and that ultimately was the biggest draw to this book, the biggest appeal. That's what I enjoyed most about this book. This book was total B movie goodness. It's a B book. It's not groundbreaking at all. As previously mentioned, it's very Who Goes There. It's very The Thing. It's fun, eerie, quick paced. There's a lot of action, and I thoroughly enjoyed the mystery of it all. Bonus entry, as a side note, it looks like it was made into a movie in 1966 called Navy vs. the Night Monsters. I watched it after I wrote this review, and I was surprised to see that there was actually a lot of similarities from the book. Unlike the book, which was incredibly enjoyable, it's not a good movie. It tries to have some comedy in it for some reason. It has this like wacky incidental music, and it completely takes away from any like horror vibes that it has going on. It has Navy, it has military instead of like scientists, and so that's not as fun because everything's like strict. The characters, the names are there, like it's actually very similar, but very different. Hands down, the best part of the movie is Mamie Van Doren plays Nora. Man, is she gorgeous. It was just a treat every time she was on the screen. The only better thing that was in the movie than the book was Nora was a nurse, and she actually like took part in like saving the island, saving people's lives. She had an opinion. She was strong. The Nora in the book just kind of is there for Drake. She's just there as a vehicle for Drake to vent his frustrations, and she kind of just like peps him up and like, you're doing good, honey, go save us. But in the movie, the Nora, she's the go-getter, and she like takes control, and she was a stronger character in the movie. And like I said, Mamie Van Doren, gorgeous. So 2 thumbs up. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to 2-thumb this thing. It was great. If you like The Thing from Another World, definitely read this book. Even if you like The Thing or Who Goes There. I think those are better, but this was definitely fun. It was the B movie version of The Thing, which is kind of a B movie anyway, but a little bit lower. Got it? Good. Up next is this 1983 Western. Bantam Books. Badman C.H. Haseloff. The C stands for Cynthia. Cynthia Haseloff was a Texas-born writer who lived her authoring years in Arkansas near Fort Smith. She's a historian and a Judge Parker apologist. I don't really know anything about Judge Parker, so don't get mad in the comments. But here's a little bit about Judge Parker that I found online. Judge Parker, 1838 to 1896, was known as the hanging judge and sentenced 160 people to death in a 14-year period. The Wild West. According to Fort Smith National Historic Site, which I'm sure is very reliable, it's not biased at all. Parker made contributions in rehabilitating offenders, reforming the criminal justice system, and advocating for the rights of the Indian nation.
All right, coming up next, we got the brand new Judge Parker hit single, Body Count Bad Boy. And then after that loops around your neck, we're going to flip it over for the B-side number, Misunderstood Judge Blues. All right, hang 'em high.
I don't care. The only reason I'm mentioning that is because I think it's important to the mind frame of Cynthia Haseloff when she was writing this book, because it includes Judge Parker in this book, although briefly. If you're looking for more info on her opinions, there is a afterword in this book where she's going to tell you all about them. But I'm not going to talk about them anymore, because here we go. All right, the basic premise here is 5 bandits plan to rob a train. One of them mysteriously doesn't show up for the robbery. Our Badman protagonist, Pace Reed, gets shot in the middle of the robbery. He barely survives as he holds up in this cavern to the side with his fellow cohorts coming in and helping him a little bit, except for the mysteriously missing one. He eventually heals up and gets going on the run, but the bad news is that the excellently named Marshal Reuben Blood is out for blood, and the only thing that he wants, he doesn't even care if he lives, he wants to get revenge on the mystery man who didn't show up, who sold them out. So our anti-hero, Pace Reed, travels through the rugged outlaw West, getting into skirmishes and happening upon situations where he has moral dilemmas. This thing reads like parables. Throughout the trip, Pace reminisces about his outlaw past, how it reflects on his current situation. And I just kept wondering who this intended audience was for. People in prison or alcoholics, sinners. This book should have been called The Reform Man, not The Bad Man. There is action in it, though. There's shootouts, there's fist fights, there's hard living, hard traveling, all the things you want in a Western, except the vengeance part, which is what I came here for. Forgiveness is part of the real world, is part of being a human. Understanding, compromise, growth. It's all wonderful things, and it makes a wonderful society. But the reason I read books, especially books like this, is that I want to live vicariously through the characters in the book. And when someone wrongs you in one of these books, I want bullets cracking skulls. The only cheeks I want turned are when they're flipping into their grave. You know, is it responsible to put that kind of stuff out into the world? Maybe not. But I know better. I'm mature enough to handle it. Come on, Cynthia. This book had way too much redemption of Pace's character. I just wanted a bloodbath, not a morality lesson. That being said, she wrote it really well. It was very introspective with like lots of shades of gray. It wasn't black and white. It wasn't right and wrong. It was very understanding. It was very like, people made mistakes. There is time to rectify it. It's very in touch with like humanity and like, I don't know, the essence of bettering oneself and to not dwell on the past. And that's impressive. That's cool. That's cool. That's great. I'm sure like if you were some dude sitting in prison and someone handed you this book, you know, it'd probably give you feelings, man. It'd probably hit you in the gut and you'd be reflecting on your life and be like, man, I got to turn things around. But I'm not sitting in prison. I go to work. I'm responsible and stuff. So I can't say that this book was bad, because it was good and there was action and stuff. But I don't know. It just wasn't for me. So I don't even know what to give it. It's good. Good for you. Bad for me. Shit, I don't know. It's this. That's what this is. All right, up next is this 1961 Fawcett Gold Medal, another golden hit, assignment Burma Girl, Edward S. Ahrens. I tried to find out who did the cover art by messaging art aficionado, Bob Dice, and he said he didn't know. And then he was like, why don't you find out for yourself, dude? Why are you asking me? And I was like, I don't know, Bob. I don't know anything. Just kidding. He didn't say that. But he did say he didn't know. So the assignment series, all written by Edward S. Ahrens, had 42 entries from 1955 to 1976. The series was an espionage thriller adventure starring Sam Darrell. Sam Darrell is a no-nonsense CIA man, so he's all American. There's no cheeky in his spy. We don't know if he likes his martinis shaken or stirred. And he has zero funky gadgets to get him through the mission. At the same time, he's also not a gung-ho men's adventure assassin spy. He's cool and he's thoughtful and he knows when to hit and he knows when to lay low. I find the assignment series to land perfectly in between the John le Carre serious espionage fiction and the more fantastical and fun Ian Fleming James Bond spy fiction. Assignment series is one of my favorites. I have many of them. I think I'm only missing 2 of them. But yeah, here we go. So let's go around. We find Darrell in the jungles of Burma in Southeast Asia. Hartford is the husband of a rich and influential woman named Eva. He has gone missing in the jungles of Burma. He was secretly on a mission for the NSA and a DC politician to rally the northern Burmese to try and put a stop to a communist guerrilla militia called the Lafat Ho. I don't know how to pronounce that. Lafat Ho. And it's headed by a mysterious man named Major Mong. Darrell must go in and bring Hartford back. So what we have here is a great early 60s post-World War II war novel, essentially. As I started reading this, I was a little daunted by the fact that I knew absolutely nothing about the history and political strife of Burma. But as the story progresses, it slowly fills you in with the information and backstory. So the plot is comprehensible. Like, you don't have to be a historian or know all about this stuff. You can be ignorant like me online, telling everyone that you know nothing. And the way I understand it in the book, in World War II, Japan invaded Burma and occupied them for 3 years. The Allies came in and helped the Burmese people boot Japan out of their country. And in this novel, obviously, it focuses on the U.S. military. And the 3 main characters who were there were Hartford, Emmett Clay, which is the brother of Eva, Hartford's wife, and a Japanese soldier who quits the military kind of as a conscientious objector during this battle, and he lives the rest of his life in northern Burma in this rural village called Nambunga. I found the characters to be fully realized and realistic, and this may surprise some people, but I am not a World War II veteran. So I'm just like guessing that this is the way a soldier would feel. Like, this story seems like a very apt description of the feelings a soldier would have about their wartime, their time in war. Nothing in here is cartoonish or over the top. It's also not too heavy. You know, it's not serious. It's not going to bum you out, unless maybe you were there and like it's going to bring stuff up. But if you're someone like me who, delivered pizzas through his 20s, it's not going to upset me. This story has the benefit of having one boot in the real world and one boot in the adventure fun world to guide you through this highly entertaining and informative story with emotion and heart and the complexities of morality and vengeance, with lots of action and esoteric political spy action. Did I say action twice? I did. I wrote it down twice. In this book has a lot going for it. We have prisoner of war survival, assassination bombings, opium smoking, shootouts, guerrilla warfare, prostitution, politics and corruption. I mean, politics and corruption together? That's crazy. Pulp-style air, river, jungle adventure, and at the head of it, the stern and serious, thoughtful Sam Darrell. This book was great. In fact, I'm going to go on record and say this is probably the best entry in the assignment series that I've read so far. And I think I've read like 6 of them. So do I double thumb up it again? How about one of these? thumb up gun, Sam Darrell, Spy. Up last and least, 1984, Ghostbusters novelization by Larry Milne, Coronet Books. This is from the UK. I can't find much on Mr. Milne. He wrote 3 books. One is this one, the novelization of Ghostbusters. He also wrote a novelization of Biggles, the movie, and a novelization of a Bob Dylan movie, Hearts of Fire, which I didn't even know Bob Dylan had a movie. So that's kind of cool. That's something good that came out of this whole thing. So in 1984, Ghostbusters was the biggest goddamn movie to exist. I remember I was there. I went to the movie theater many times. How old was I in 1984? I was 3 plus 4, 7. I was 7 years old, and I loved it. It's my favorite movie. It's still my favorite movie. I love it. I was so excited to read this. So the question is, the biggest movie in the world, super duper hit, who the hell is Larry Milne? He's never written a book before. Then they just hired this guy to write the novelization of the biggest movie that exists. It's very odd, and I think that this is probably a pseudonym of someone for some reason. And if anyone knows the answer, I would be very interested to find out, because I don't know, it's just weird. It's just weird. It just bothers me. So there's no plot premise on this one, because I know that everyone knows what the Ghostbusters are and what they do. This book adds little to nothing to the movie. Not only that, but without the comedic timing and the emphasis on the lines, everything reads really dry. One positive thing that I can take away from reading this book is I knew the movie so well. I could probably recite 75% of the lines in the movie, and I don't remember anything. So as I was reading this, there's the lines. It's pretty much word for word. It's just the script in a book. Not really much was added. But the way that the lines are read, and the way that I know that they are in the movie, it made me realize that as a reader, I kind of have this artistic license to take these lines that are in these books, these characters, and how I portray the characters and their personalities, and give them the lines emphasis. So I kind of really bring characters to life in books. And ever since I read this book, that's what I've been doing, and it's been making all of these books even better. Because I used to just read it like line for line. I didn't really put much into it. It was just what was there was what I got. So because I read this book and knew the way that like Bill Murray and them said these lines, I was like, this is what they gave Bill Murray, and that's what he came up with. I was like, I can do that. I can do that with these other books that I'm reading. I don't have to just read it all flat like this. Like I can bring it to life. And it may sound dumb. Maybe that's what everyone has been doing the whole time. That's why they like books. I don't know. But to this moron, it was a revelation. And it was really cool. And it wasn't thanks to Larry Milne. It was thanks to the actors in the movie, which really showed me that it's possible to bring characters to life with your own mind. All right, was that corny? Yeah. All right, let's move on. So did anything interesting or different happen in this book? There's a few things worth mentioning. Number one, Venkman is the responsible one in this book. He worries about bills and responsibilities. It's weird. He's still kind of the same guy, but he's like responsible. He is also the main character, whereas in the movie, I feel like the guys are pretty even. But in the book, he's definitely like the main guy. He's the main character. Egon has almost no dialogue in the book. He's very much a side character. It's like Venkman, huge, and then Ray, and then Egon. Winston. He's off camera. Speaking of Winston, they gave him an awesome backstory. He's like a men's adventure hero. It's cool, man. I like missed opportunity. Why didn't they touch on that in the movie? That would have been awesome. He's just in the movie, he's just a guy who comes off the street, and then there he is, the everyman. But in the book, he had this like military background. I don't know, it was cool. Another cool aspect, Venkman does not say, "Nobody steps on a church in my town," which, when you watch that movie, you're like, his character would never say that. Venkman doesn't, first off, he's a scientist. Second, he doesn't care about churches. Venkman's all about Venkman. That's what he cares about. He would not care if the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man crushed a church in front of him. It's just, he wouldn't say it. So it was cool that it was not in this book. And the biggest, most notable difference in this book is Louis Tully not only has a crush on Dana Barrett and wants to date her, he has fantasies about her raping him. What? What? And that's it. Thanks for watching. Did you guys know you can hit that notification bell thing? I didn't even know that existed. I've been watching YouTube for a million years, however long it's been around. I didn't know that you could do that, and I just found out. So would you push that button? That would be cool.
You're asking too much! Asking too much! You're asking too much! Asking too much! You're asking too much!